Hi, I'm Lexi Fotheringham. I'm with Burns Saddlery. Today we are going to show you how to make a keychain. And the tools that you will need will be a small maul, a couple different geostamps, some bevelers, and a lined pear shader, and your stylus, some wing dividers, and your swivel knife. So I just got my piece of leather wet, and all I did was really fast dunked it in the water because you don't want it too wet that you're not going to get any color, and you don't want it dry enough that you're not going to get any color. So now I'll do my border line. I'm taking my wing dividers and I'm going to do about 1/8 of an inch around because it is a smaller project. Okay, and now I will take my swivel knife and cut that line in. So you want enough pressure to actually put a cut in there, but you don't want so much that you're shaking trying to put the cut in there. You want it just nice, even, long lines. And then you'll take your wing dividers. I'm gonna say about 1/4 of an inch and run it right on your cut line. So now that we got that drawn on, we just cut that line in the same that we did our outside line. Well, I am using a 3/8 blade, and when I'm cutting the longer lines, I will be using my blade flatter, and on the shorter lines, I will tip it up on its end and cut the smaller lines that way. So the reason that I tip it up on its end is so that I can do tighter turns and more precise cutting. The lines that we have cut in, we are doing a geo border. Before I get started using my tool, I like to kind of lay it out and make sure that I have the right spacing. I am going to kind of lay it out a little bit. So I'll put it in each corner here and then just try and figure out where I want all of them to go to look good. And I kind of like that, so I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna use my smaller maul just because it is a smaller tool and you don't want to hit it super hard that it goes through the leather. So you can run the snake a couple different ways. The way that I run it is I hit this one, and then I go back in and fill in the space here. And the other way to do it is you go back and forth from here to the other line and back to the other line. So when I'm tooling a border stamp, I always start in the corner and go out from there. It doesn't matter what corner, but that's the way I do it, is starting in the corner and filling up the space. So one way that I get my spacing is I look at the point here and the point on your tool, and I try and get the same exact space in between those 2 points on every hit. So if you have a shorter line like this, you can go in and kind of plan it out before you hit it to make sure that everything lines up nice. And then you can go back and hit them exactly where you want. And the way that I run it is I just turn my tool around like this and hit it, but you can also turn your leather around and hit it this way so that you are right on the line and you don't miss it at all. Okay, so with the snake border, a lot of the times when you're coming to connect them, you kind of have a funny spot of if it's too wide or too short, and you just got to make sure that it works the way you want it. So I think I'm going to hit 1 in the middle here and 2 on the outside to make it work the way I want. So now that we got our border done, we've got a big empty space in the middle, and I was thinking that we could throw a brand on there. I'm just gonna fill up the space and kind of see how it goes from there. So I'll take my pattern and my stylus and just draw her on. Then I'm gonna spray it with a little bit of water just to keep the moisture in there. And take my swivel knife and cut it in. So it's a little bit smaller and smaller cuts, so I'm gonna really make sure that I angle my knife on its tip so that I can get the small, precise cuts that I want. Yep, so on these with a brand, I'm not worried about any fading, I'm not worrying about anything. It's just the same as my border lines, just nice, even cuts to bevel. So the beveler that we're gonna be using today is a steep beveler, just because we have smaller lines and I want it kind of really nice, even and perfect. So I'm just gonna use the steep one. And when I bevel, I always use my smaller maul because you don't want to tire your arm out that fast. I'm gonna take my smaller beveler and go in and hit my smaller lines. So with tooling a brand like we are today, I keep all my bevelers at the same angle, which is straight up and down, just so it's all uniform. So as you're tooling, beveling specifically, you don't want to be holding your tool super tight. You want to just let it sit in your hand and sit just above the leather. And then you take your maul just so the end is right in the palm of my hand, and I just let the maul do the work and I just drop it on the end of the tool instead of trying to swing it. So now that we're done beveling, I am gonna show you one way that I like to finish it, and that's by painting. So today we are gonna be using an Angelus paint called Glitter Lights, and it is the Ice Blue. So I'm not using any water, I'm just taking it straight out of the bottle. The hardest thing with glitter is if you keep going over top of it, it really likes to move the glitter around. So now that we are finished painting our brand, we are going to let it dry a little bit and then we will finish it by oiling and polishing. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of neat's foot oil today and brush it across my project. With russet, I like to keep it as light as possible, so I do a light coat on the top and a heavier coat on the back. So with the smaller project that we are doing, you can edge it with a really small edger, or you can just dye the edges and burnish and make it look nice, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So today we're going to use Super Sheen to put a polish on it and make it a little bit shiny. So I'm going to take my sheepskin that I have cut up and put some on it and then just rub it across. Now that we are complete, all that's left to do is add a ring. And thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe.